available. I'll be available as a resource as needed. I really don't want to be in your way. I want to just be here to support your work. So let me know what we can do to support your work. We certainly have some city staff that are willing to do presentations so you can kind of understand what we do as a city in different departments. And I'm really interested to see what we can do as a community. So that's really all I have to say tonight. And once again, thank you all for being part of this.
And congratulations.
Thank you, Tim. All right, I heard about 4 people volunteering to go first. Volunteer one more time and then you pick the person who goes next. It's going to be that easy.
I can go, if that's okay, because my son's gonna be in the car soon. I don't want him to hear me talk. I'm gonna put it on so he can't hear you guys.
Smart
Okay.
woman, and thank you.
Okay, my name's Michelle Van Meter. I've lived in Stoughton since 2003. I have a son who's 27 who went through the school district and lived here, and I have 2 Black boys that go to school here now. So I'm a teacher, and I've been challenged on things by parents that have nothing to do with race or culture or anything. And I see what's coming, and I want to make sure I'm involved in making sure that I can have books about Black people and LGBTQ people and Indigenous people in my classroom. I don't teach here, and I want to fight and help teachers or anyone here that has any of those issues happen to them.
Thank you. Pick somebody, please.
You want Deanna to go since she's got to leave?
Great to see you all. It's been so much talk and conversation to get us into this meeting, and this is really exciting. So I am Dana Verstegen. I've lived in Stoughton for about 6 years now. Let's see, I'm fortunate enough to live in Stoughton House with my wife Joni and our 3 dogs and a snake named Nemo, but he's really very quiet. And my background, as Jean alluded to, is I am in marketing and I'm a writer. So worked in the tech industry for a long time. I'm currently employed by NASDAQ. And so part of my role with this organization is to help us figure out what to communicate and how to communicate it based on the kind of the objectives are going to be for this organization. So I'll be partnering up for that. And in terms of a DIA experience, well, I suppose as a member of the queer community, that is something. But really what's front of mind for me is about the, let me put it this way. I grew up in Wisconsin. I moved to the Bay Area and there were so many different people there and it was so thrilling and it felt so good. And I come back to Stoughton where I absolutely love living, but as we all know, pretty darn homogenous. And I think we can be a richer community if we can overcome some of that. Plus, I just hate hearing about the intolerance. I want to do something, anything I can to help. So thank you. I have to name somebody. Amanda, how about you?
Okay. Hello, I'm Amanda, and I live in Stoughton for the last 16 years almost. And oh, maybe it wasn't me, Amanda. Maybe it was the other Amanda.
It sounds great for you, but can you increase your volume?
2 Amandas, I'm so sorry. Yes. Good girl.
I'm not sure. So I have lived in Stoughton for 15 or 16 years. Excuse me. What has brought me into this is my family, I suppose, and I think that what motivates me is everything getting better. So I appreciate to be here. And I picked the other Amanda.
I'm Amanda Potratz. I've been here with my family for about 10 years. I have 2 little boys at Sand Hill. Well, they'll both be at Sand Hill next year. And I just want the city to be, I love it here. It's a great city. And I really appreciate everything that the city and the leadership's been doing to make it a more welcoming place. And I kind of want to be a part of that change and make it a place that I want my kids to be comfortable at, and make it a place where they feel like they are welcomed and that I'm welcomed and that they can be friends with anybody without that being looked down on at all. I'll pick Linda.
You're muted, Linda.
Thank you. I'm Linda Shafer, and I have lived in Stoughton for 19 years, I think it is. Love it here. I have two children that are part of the Stoughton Area School District, a middle schooler and a high schooler. And I'm actually, I was asked by my employer, Stoughton Health, to apply to be on this task force. We have started at Stoughton Health. We have started our own LGBTQ plus advisory committee. And it is very important to our organization to be an inclusive organization. And we worked to change our policies for to be inclusive with both our patients as well as our employees, to make it a more welcoming environment. And we've worked with building a safer Evansville for some guidance, because they're a little bit further ahead of us as far as some of the work goes with LGBTQ plus. And so in my role that I've been helping them, I work in marketing at Stoughton Health. And so in that role, they asked me to apply. But I will say that not only, I'm excited to be able to do this, because personally, as a mom, I want to be able to help kids and make Stoughton a better place for them. And it breaks my heart when I hear about some of these horrible, intolerant things and just mean-spiritedness. And I am in a fortunate place where I can advocate where other parents maybe can't. And so I see my role as trying to be, as a mom, the voice of the other parents where I can, to help out and to be someone who can make a positive change in the community. So that's what I hope to accomplish.
Thanks, Linda.
I see two people in the frame. There's Denise, but it looks like maybe you have a husband with you. I'd love to hear more about you two.
Okay. Can you see us both? It looks like I'm really kind of groovy in black and white and kind of interesting. So I'm Denise Rosby. I joined this, I'm from Chicago. So, when I moved to Wisconsin, it was an extreme culture shock. I moved originally up to Eau Claire and got involved in Uniting Bridges, which was on the board of the Juneteenth Project, which my husband was very involved in getting me involved. I work at UW Health as a mental health clinician. I'm also one of the therapists who do interviews and absolute approvals of transgender surgeries. So after the client's gone through the process that is medically necessary, I actually see them and then, write the ultimate letter. I am also on the anti-racism committee for the UW Health System, which includes the university and the entire hospital system, which is really, really amazing. So I have a ton of resources if we get to that point where we need something, including speakers and people who'd be willing to kind of be part of the process. I actually called the mayor because when I read what happened at that high school, and again, my kids were raised here. I just didn't know exactly what to do with it. It really bothered me. Of course, the things I've been involved in, I have very little tolerance. More so for the acceptance, more so for like, is anyone going to do anything here kind of thing? So I called the mayor's office. He graciously called me back and was very patient with me as I said, okay, what is this committee and what do I have to do? Because I just don't really think this was a very, it was kind of a blemish as far as I was concerned. And we had heard about it in Madison. And interestingly enough, the committee looked at me and I was like, I don't know what happened. I'm gonna find out though. So so that's kind of where I come from. I don't know. Some of it is really, I don't really understand. And every day I learn, so that's really important. But that's why I'm here. Nice to see you. That's a weird camera.
Strange angle. We're going to work on that. So my name's Donald. I'm an IT guy, and I've worked with Amanda laptop, doing some things. We work with nonprofits. The organization I work for is called DaneNet, and the reason I say that is because part of our mission is to help bridge the digital divide for underserved communities, which often includes people of color. So, and we have various programs that we do to try to facilitate that. And one of the things that I do throughout the week is I spend 2 hours at 2 different libraries conducting what's called a fix-it clinic, so people can come in and if they have any tech issues, any questions, anything that's broken, I can look at it and try to fix it. They have advice on how to get a phone, how to configure it, how to do pretty much anything computer or tech related. I'm there to try to help them do that. It's a service that our organization provides, and it's geared toward, again, the underserved communities, people of color, and just one way to really try to get everybody to be on the same page and be more inclusive. So that's one part of it. The other part is, there's 3 parts. The other part is, I enjoy living here. You know, we've been here for, I think, I want to say 3, yeah, in June it'll be 3 years that we've lived here. So we're kind of the newbies on the block. And one of the things, 2 things. One thing, people are really friendly here. I really don't see color. I just see people. You only really see color when it's brought to your attention, to tell you the truth, or if you're looking for trouble. That's just how I feel about it. So the other thing is, I was really encouraged when the Black Lives Matter movement paid a visit to Stoughton, you know, after recent events. And it was really cool to see a lot of white people, a lot of young white people, really banging it out, you know, yelling, screaming, cheering as cars drove by downtown Stoughton. I even stopped and got them a case of water because it was hot, because I was feeling it. You know, it was really good to see. And it was one of those things that I thought was quite encouraging to be a part of this community. When we moved here, I really wanted to sink my teeth into this, because this is home. This is it. You know, this is home for me. And so whatever I can do to really help further advance this cause that we're trying to pursue here, I'm all in. And the third part is, I worked on the Racial Justice Task Force in Eau Claire a long time ago, in the early 2000s. So we presented a plan to City Hall. I presented part of the plan to City Council. I presented part of it. Other colleagues presented their part. So I do have some familiarity with what we're trying to accomplish here. So I'm encouraged. I want to be a part of it. You know, I have done these types of things. I'm not the end all be all by any means, but I'm all in. So whatever I can do to help, you know, I'm here to do that. So on whatever level that's needed. So.
Thank you so much, Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Who goes next?
You know, we got this small laptop here, and we only have like 6 people on the screen. So let me see. And I think everybody spoke. So I'm gonna move over here. Looks like somebody named Sharon. Yeah, we'll go with Sharon next.
Nice job. Thank you.
Hello. I've been taking notes as I've been listening to everybody else, and I'm like trying to think about how to be succinct, and that's really hard. I've lived in Stoughton with my family for about 8 years. I have 2 kids who go to Fox Prairie. You know, diversity and equity and inclusion has been sort of like a gradual accumulation for me, starting as a college student and some professors that opened my eyes to things that I had always taken for granted and never had to confront or acknowledge, having grown up in a very white, very small town. And so as I've become an educator myself, as a professor, I've gradually done work trying to include more perspectives and more voices and be more mindful of challenges and be more equitable. And I didn't really think about any of this having sort of a name. When I look at my background, I see these elements coming in from a lot of different angles. But about a year ago, I found out about a group of faculty who were attempting to decolonize French curriculum. And I'm primarily a French professor. I'm also a builder of gender studies programs and proponent of questioning gender constructions. The idea of decolonizing, because so much of what I do does relate to colonialism and post-colonialism, and you know, that verb and decolonizing, something that's ongoing and that you're actively doing, really resonated with me. And I guess I sort of think of that as being a key word that brings about a lot of the different angles that interest me. And like other people, I love living here, but I know that my experience is different than other people's. I am fond of pointing out to people who tend to romanticize places like Paris. You can't go into Target without seeing products emblazoned with cool French words that are utterly meaningless and sometimes grammatically incorrect. But Paris is a very different experience for me than it is for someone who's Algerian, than it is for somebody who's from Syria, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Stoughton is similar, and I, you know, want to do a part in trying to make it better. And I will choose Renee. And I want to just briefly mention the picture that you had up, Renee, that dog looks exactly like a dog that we had, and we sadly had to put to sleep. So sometime I hope to get to know you and ask more about your dog.
There's something about that breed that elicits that response in people. So I would love to talk with you too. Thank you. So I'm Renee Wilberg, and I guess I would just say it's diversity in general is something I've always been interested in. Growing up in a super small town named Marshall, I'm sure you've heard of it. Just super homogenous and tiny. I lived in Madison for 12 years and worked for Head Start and went to college, and wanted to move to Stoughton when I became a foster parent, and my son was entering kindergarten, and I wanted to raise him in a smaller community, and I thought Stoughton just offered so much for families. Theater, nice downtown, bowling alley, just all sorts of great things, and but with a smaller feel. At that time in my life, I was in a relationship with a woman, and learned very quickly that Stoughton wasn't quite ready for that in a lot of ways. And also having my son be a foster child and not have two parents being a mom and dad was sort of an added layer. He has a very ethnic name. So just, I kind of like the layers are there, and I felt that heavily for a very long time. And unfortunately, it kind of followed with him. You know, it comes out on the kids more than us. And I think, you know, when I read this question, Jean, that you sent, like, oh, it's just emotional, because I hadn't really ever brought it all together for myself personally, but Stoughton was welcoming, but I never felt like I belonged. And I thought, well, okay, as an adult, like I said, I can go to Madison. I had a ton, all my friends were from Madison. I didn't care if I socialized in Stoughton or not. Did I want to? Yeah, that's where I wanted to go and feel welcome and a part of a community. And so what I've realized that creates is you don't give back to your community then the way that you might otherwise if you felt you belonged. And I've always been big on volunteering, always. It's been a big part of my life. And anyway, I just kind of put that together though, that like where you choose to invest your time and energy really correlates with where you feel welcome, and that there's like an energy, like that synergy you get from doing it in community. So we kind of moved past that. He's 27, graduated, moved on, got married to a man, felt very different in this community, going out in public in that context. And then I started being a therapist for UW Health, by the way, which I forget who was talking last, but I would love to talk with you too, because UW is so strong in its DEI. The resources are phenomenal, and we learned so much. So anyway, started being a therapist, started working with teenagers at Stoughton High School, and realized sadly that even though a decade had passed, nothing else had changed. And the kids I was working with were experiencing homophobia at like insane levels, and social class stigmatization. I mean, you name it. And so that was really disheartening. And at the time, I also joined a different community group, and we started focusing on some issues around racism, but it just never really went anywhere. And it was sort of frustrating for me personally. So I was very happy that this came along. That was a lot, sorry. Just kind of thought of all that today with that one question there. I'm like, ooh, what am I gonna say? But there you have it, that's me. I'm happy to be here and grateful that our community is really looking at this.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
Who's next?
I can go. My name is Sarah. I'm just totally touched by everything that's been shared before me, and greatly benefited by being able to synthesize my own thinking. But a few thoughts that come to mind. I too grew up in Chicago in a very segregated suburb called Evanston, Illinois. A lot of privilege, a lot of access to resources that I wasn't even totally aware of until I got to Madison and met a lot of people who had never shared spaces with people of color and seemed to have really sort of odd ideas about what that was about. We've been in Stoughton, my husband David and I, for 20 years. We live right near the Middle Bluff School across from the administration building, and recently began attending school board meetings after I saw an open invitation on the neighborhood association related to some of the racial incidents. And I didn't know what had happened, but professionally, I've been employed at UW-Madison for the last 25 some odd years in the Collaborative Center for Health Equity. There's a lot of similarities around academic achievement inequities and health disparities suffered by folks who are underrepresented in both higher education, health systems, research, you name it. I too was struck by the question you posed for us to ask, and I think it's so important that people really grapple with where they personally enact values tied to DEI. And it's really important to come to terms with that because it makes you better able to serve in an advocacy and service role. So I'll just say that. And one of the things I thought to share was we run an annual Health Equity Leadership Institute for scholars from around the nation at Madison every summer. And within about 2 years of running that, we began to hear really consistently these scholars who were not all of color, many of whom were diverse racially, ethnically, but intersectionality exposes lots of other identities. But the scholars were saying, this is a space that I feel I can bring my whole self into the room, not leave part of me at the door. And so I was really struck by somebody's comments about the welcoming versus belonging. And I felt really proud of the way our team had been so intentional in thinking about welcoming scholars before they ever landed in Madison, recognizing who they were and appreciating their work well before they arrived to us, but then also treating them in such a way that within 5 days, there were really strong connections being made and networks established and supporting each other nationally in this work. So I'm delighted to be here. I see some familiar faces. I'm an aunt to like 60 plus. Amanda, I still don't have the exact count. I'm working on it, but I'm not a parent, and I'm delighted to work with parents who are worried about our future and our youth. So thanks for having me tonight. And I'm going to pick Will Clifton because he's just right below me and I don't think he's spoken. You're welcome, Will.
Hello, can people hear me? So I'm Will Clifton, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this group. I think I'm the newest person of the group to move to Stoughton. My wife and I moved in the polar vortex last year when it was somewhere like 5 below or something crazy like that. But we're incredibly happy to be here. I'm a part of this because I can't help but not do this. I was for many years at UW-Madison. So many folks here in this group are talking about the UW, so I'm connecting to that and relating. For many years at UW-Madison, I worked in the Office for Equity and Diversity and facilitated conversations around the topic in what is now, the office is now called Learning Communities for Institutional Change and Excellence. And the core phrase that I used is, how do you create socially just, equitable, and inclusive spaces where we can all be ourselves and bring out our best in whatever we do? And that everyone feels included, respected, and heard. And so that truly is the type of community I will forever strive to be a part of and want to be a part of. And my wife as well. I met my wife as a graduate student, and back in 1985, when we were on campus at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. It was like landing on the moon coming from Madison. I'm a faculty brat from Madison, if you want to picture a spoiled kid, talk about white heterosexual privilege. I took that and have been disrupting myself and relearning what that means and how to work with, particularly with other white folks around what that means and how to really build inclusive communities. That's my life desire and work, both professionally and as a volunteer. So as I'll stop there, but truly that's the reason why I wanted to be in this group, and I will give it my all. You truly, because I know that it has to be. This work is intimate, and what I mean by that is you have to build relationships of understanding, or nothing's going to change. If we're just working on vocabulary, the right words to say, we're doing nothing. It's got to be, you've got to own it. And I'll go to those places with you, that are hard, and I'll make my mistakes, as we all will. But I won't go to guilt and I won't go to shame. I'll stay there and learn from you all. And I hope we all do likewise. I think it'll be nothing but improve our community. So that's why I'm here. I don't think we've heard from Teresa yet. Is that correct? Do you go by Tess, by the way?
I'm actually Mary. I'm really going to mess it up.
Oh, okay.
Teresa's my wife and this is her computer.
Gotcha.
But I'm Mary. Same last name because we're married. But thank you. I wanted to be part of this group. Hi, Linda. Linda steered me this direction. Thank you. Because our family is constantly educating the world every day. My wife and I have 2 children that are biracial, and they're adopted, and they went through the foster program in Milwaukee. We moved to Stoughton about 8 years ago now. I worked in the school system in Milwaukee with the after-school program for close to 20 years. And then when we moved here, I got into the Oregon School District. And as a result of COVID, I've exited the education field. And now I'm your COVID lady over at the COVID line over by the Wellness Coalition. And transitioning hopefully into a new career soon. I love Stoughton. I love the people here. I think everybody is very friendly and kind, but we need more diversity, and not just walking down the street, but we need diversity in roles that are in charge. Like I'd like to see roles with the superintendent or teachers or administrators. I'm glad to see more Black businesses opening up downtown. That's why I am getting involved. It's important for our children. It's important for our community. And the first 2 years we lived here, on the LGBTQ side of this, we had our pride flag up. And all the years we lived in Milwaukee, we never experienced a hate crime. And we moved here and we got one. Someone during the night took our pride flag down. It was against an American flag, which was my father's, who has passed away. And those flags were together, and someone didn't like it. So they came in the evening and they took the flags down. They took my father's American flag and they ripped up the pride flag. Sorry. It's a tough one.
Tess, you want some time and we'll come back?
No, I'm okay. They put it in the muffler. Thank you though. In the muffler of my car and wrapped it around the review mirror on the outside of the car. So when I went up and got up to go to work that morning, into this, go off and help these students, that's what I woke up to. And my kids woke up to that. And I had no words, and to this day, I still have no words. But that stuck because it only took 2 years, and I never had that in Milwaukee. But we had neighbors that you would not believe turn out. Everyone was giving us pride flags. We had one family that came down with a camera, said, we'll hook up this camera in that tree so you can find out who did it, because they couldn't do anything about it. And it took me a good year to put that get a new pride flag and put it back up. But I do it with pride now all the time. And we get lots of beeps and supports from our friends. But I know how much that hurt, and I don't want others to feel that hurt. And I sure don't want my kids to feel that hurt in the schools, downtown, for any reason, for their skin color or for who they choose to be with. So that's why I wanted to join this, and I'm thrilled that you guys are doing it. So thanks for letting me get through all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Just me and Dee are left. Choose.
Dee. Go ahead, Dee.
Okay, I like that you call me Dee because my name says Deanna, but I either go by Dee or Rob. It's interesting because I heard all of you talking about the racial incident that happened at the high school, and I am actually a high school teacher. I am also the advisor for the Undivided. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Undivided. We were at one point just called the Cultural Diversity Club, but the kids changed the name to the Undivided because it's like a family. There's 70 plus kids in club right now, and we are working for equity, inclusion for everyone, marginalized people of any sort. And we have all races, religions, LGBTQ, allies, everyone in the club. This has always been my passion. I feel like now in my life, even though I've been teaching for 25 years, 15 years in Stoughton, that this is my niche. This is what I was supposed to be doing my entire life, is working with these kids, leading these kids, and working for equity and inclusion. My family is also biracial. My husband is Black and my kids are biracial. And they all went through Stoughton High School. They're all graduated. My youngest is 18. He just graduated last year. So I have, as a family, we have experienced some prejudice against our family in the school system. So I know firsthand what that is about. We are doing a lot of things with the Undivided that are improving the school system, and I would be happy to talk about that. The group has become very organized and very powerful as far as making change. We are starting with a group called Roots to Rise. So people were talking about wanting to have more teachers of color teaching in the district. And we're starting sort of a grow your own type of program. It's called Roots to Rise. And it works with primarily African-American students to put them in leadership roles as tutors with the intention of kind of leading them towards being teachers. So there's lots and lots and lots of great things happening at the high school, in the school district, for equity and inclusion. I know a lot of things the community hasn't heard. And there's tons and tons of questions, and I've had lots of people reach out to me and want to work with us. And I appreciate that so much. And we're so new that we don't really know what we need. So we're just still trying to kind of figure that out. But our group did begin because of a racial incident at the high school that caused very, very hurt and hard feelings with the African-American students. And so we went out. I have a good relationship with the African-American community at the high school. And I just went and talked to them, and I'm like, let's get together and talk, find out what's been going on here, what your concerns are. That started with about 35 kids, and it's just grown from there to where now it's a really large group, and we're partnering with some community things like Juneteenth. And we're also just trying to get more out into the community. So I feel like having that information is going to be really helpful to the task force, and also the task force can then help kind of guide the club and, you know, like maybe get things together. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'd be happy if we ever get to that point to talk about things that have happened at the high school and different programs and things that we have going on there now. And then it's you, Jean.
Tim's got a hot date. And so he knows plenty about me. Tim, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to say, or if you're welcome to take off. You know most things about me.
I just want to say how impressed I am with the group, and thank you for sharing your stories. And I'm really excited to see the work that you do. So if there's anything you need, just let me know, and have a great night.
Thanks, Tim. I too am moved by who you guys are. Wow. Had no idea when you put the net out what might come in. And thank you so much. I'm gonna kind of be a little brief because I'm just thinking we're gonna start seeing each other a lot more. And I went virtual only because we needed to connect, and soon.
Hey, Jean,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I apologize if I just spaced out, but did we hear from Amanda? We did hear from Amanda P. Now I'm remembering because we had
Yes, we
two
did.
Amandas. Okay, I'm sorry, I just spaced it out, but I was afraid that we missed her, and well, I'm gonna
No
lower my hand
worries.
now and mute
No
myself.
worries. I just want to give you a postage stamp of who I am. Some of you know me, but yet many of you I'm meeting for the first time. I'm born and raised south side of Milwaukee, safe girl that went to St. Mary's Academy and didn't know the central city of Milwaukee till I went to college. So I am sort of a person of privilege and raised very Catholic. And so my coming out years were challenging, to say the least. And when I came out, I was working for the Catholic Church prior, and it led me to the next best profession in the world besides being a Catholic high school teacher, which was amazing. I've been a social worker, and I've been dedicated to working for social justice in all kinds of interesting environments. And so my first job out of grad school was a social worker at the Milwaukee County Jail. And they loved me because I did my placement there. And to work at a place where 90% of the people are African American or impoverished or mentally ill, the things I learned. I also worked at Freighter's Trauma Center, where I saw the impact of class, society, you name it, at these, for some reason, these packed times of people's lives is what I'm about, because I work in palliative care here at UW, and it's probably the least trench-like job I've had, but these last 2 years have been very dark, to be very honest with you. And so being an alder person, it's my honor to serve Stoughton, and that I was asked. Somebody just mentioned it. And I went, yeah, it's in my goals, but not now. And I guess it was meant to be. So yeah, this DEI project is massively important. There's lots of it and personal work I've been doing for years. And so it's my honor to have been able to be the person asked. I'm sorry I'm the most diverse person on council, but I think I am. And yes, I'm German. Yeah, I saw an opportunity as we were dealing with COVID and the reality of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. I'm grateful I haven't had a hate crime happen to me and my wife. A lot of people are real happy because it's taking us 16 years to work on this damn house of ours. So it's been a very interesting time in Stoughton, but I am going to purposely, I have lots to talk about. But the most important thing of us is our people and who we are in our relationships is something I want you to know, and that I believe that will always be about hospitality. And so I'm going to stop talking about myself and just say we are the most important group of any topic, thing, whatever, but I do want to get some basics out today. But is there anything that people have more to say? I thought I saw a hand up before. Is there anything people feel the need to comment or share before we get into some? And I'm going to get us out of here at 8 because I chose to stay at work with my big screens. So I'm leaving here at 8. So anybody else have anything else they want to share or have to say? All right. Well, thank you for continuing to stay here. So I'm going to kind of adjust because this was moving. This was amazing. This group of people that we have, I'm very intrigued what's going to happen. So I just want to share with you a little history of what has got us to this point, and that you came. Oh my gosh. And so I've asked for us to be grassroots, and that seems to be a new idea in Stoughton. We want to go bottom up. And so I want you to know that that is the whole frame. So it's been really interesting because people are asking me like how many people are going to be allowed to be on. Anybody who wants. Maybe if they fill out the application, they'll be on a mayor's list, but that's what I want that looked at. Anybody who can come. And I think knowing who we are, we're going to be just fine if too many come. I don't think we're going to be too little. I don't think we're going to have that problem. And I hope I'm not ever eating those words, but we'll figure it out. So my goal tonight is to just give you some basics about things that I've said or done to get this group acknowledged and going. And that's about as much as I want to control and do, except to say I promise to serve us all really well. And that I see a role for me in this as facilitating a lot, but grassroots, I really mean it. So back in the 1990s, I was heartbroken. And I took my social justice interest in my life and I worked on the Milwaukee Domestic Partnership Task Force. And anybody who knows the dynamics of Milwaukee, entrenched years of city politics made it very hard to bring any change around diversity to the city. And we did a grassroots collective of people. And we were able to get a registry that allowed LGBT folks, we were not allowed to marry then, it was the 1990s. But it led to huge amounts of change for people in municipalities and the city itself, and getting access to health insurance and all that kind of stuff. And that sounds like so long ago, right? It's like 25 years ago. But that grassroots collective changed my life. And I was honored, and I can't believe we got it passed and through. We did get it through the Milwaukee Common Council at that time. In the 1990s, anybody remembers, very, very very homogenous, very white, very hetero. Anyway, it changed my life. So I walked in that program and I was a co-chair of it by the end of it. And I learned really good advocacy. So I'm hoping, sorry, there's a code being called at the hospital if you hear it. I am an advocate, and yet I like to work like from the back up. I don't like to be this loud. I like to be here with us. So I kind of want you to know that's what I'm envisioning. So like you guys will be facilitating meetings too, but I think I'm gonna have the first couple, but I think there's all kinds of people who like might be ready to do the next one. But nonetheless, let's use our time well. Yeah, I just want you to know that we're gonna be grassroots. And so if people don't want to fill out an application and still show up at these meetings, they're welcome. We're going to need people for events. So I got to look at my notes now, but so much gratitude for you guys being here. I think I am authentically portraying that to you. I'm not even going to tell you about what I do in my day job and other stuff. I think I've told you what you need to know about me, but we have been empowered. So like technically we are on the hook for coming up with a strategic plan and holding events over a 2-year period. I can't believe they gave this to us. I'm just shocked. I am so happy that this idea seemed to resonate. And it just kind of grew from all these things, whether it was being at the rally on the George Floyd rally and that hot summer day, and risking and writing a proclamation on LGBT and reminding people, let's add Juneteenth. And then the first Juneteenth event, oh my God. So all of these things have been coming and people are paying attention and tracking. So we have to do those two things. And I want us to do it grassroots. So not pure grassroots though, because we have to give some reports, like, and the city might not buy, but if we're transparent and we're really doing this right, they're going to be doing these things even before we make that final presentation, right? What we're going to discover, how we're going to help institutionally build in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is what I see this group doing. And us working ourselves out of being a task force to true engagement and integration into the city. And maybe the school. And this is the stuff I kind of got to feel like I got to get across to you guys today before 8 o'clock. So I'm trying to bring you up. So we are a grassroots collective, but we can't be pure grassroots. We can't like totally self-organize. Like we're going to have to provide, I don't like them calling, so we're not going to follow parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rule of Order. I purposely didn't notice this meeting, but I think I'd like us to, so more people show up and we're open and people, but we'll smartly market it with all of our marketing people and we'll throw it in the city stuff too. And that's kind of how I operate. This is how I see my role in this, but we'll keep some summaries like date, time, participants, the ideas we discussed, the tasks we completed, but it's not going to be like the typical minutes. Let's do what works for us. Because my goal is to have you guys only doing what you can really truly do. And these passions that came across tonight, we are golden. And so we'll be working from our strengths and we'll be working from our skills. And we promise to use that well. We're not going to be abusing anybody. So those were the basics I wanted to get across about what we're on the hook for. We're a grassroots hybrid, and we kind of got to come up with these project and have events. And you guys are smirking. I think you're all in. All right. I also want to quickly cut to the chase and say, did you have a chance to look at that working document I sent you? In particular, did anybody start looking at the different resources? Because soon the resources at the end had strategic plans, web pages of it, not meant to be inclusive, just what I've been listening and gathering. And I hadn't worked on it since January and it's already April. So it needs to be updated, but paying attention to what's going on around us, cities our size, as well as cool looking strategic plans. Google didn't provide me a lot of them. So I liked the one from Happy Valley, Oregon, but wow, my goal is let's really do good strategic work and review what's going on in the city. And I know that there's a few different ideas about it, but I have promised that we will do that. And I trusted that that was a good promise to make. So I think what I want to do is stop talking right now and say, tell me if anybody looked at the review of resources, and if you want to comment anything about those things, and then what questions, comments about this group do you have, in the hopes that somewhere around 7:40-ish, we can start talking about how we're going to structure ourselves.
I didn't get that list. I don't have any resources attached to my email. So I don't know if anyone else, I only got 2 emails and they're just for the Zoom call with a
And I'm just
summary, but
asking
I
who's
didn't get
speaking
any.
right now. I can't see it.
I didn't get any attachments, so I just want to make sure.
Can I ask who's speaking right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Denise.
Denise, yes, couldn't see you. Thank you. I will re-email that out to you. I will specifically email that out to you.
Jean, I didn't get it either.
Okay. Dee, you wouldn't have, because your application had gotten lost and you just got on the list a day ago. But I think Denise is the only one who I did send it to and didn't, and I'll investigate as to why you didn't get that. Okay, so if you haven't looked already, and trust me, it's going to take us a little bit to get organized. I'm going to email all, and maybe I'll just re-email the whole group. I'll email you. It's a Word document. It's a working document with links to resources that I've been gathering along the way, and it gives a little bit of history of all those things I mentioned, like the proclamation and our timeline and results listening session. I took those out, but anyways, yeah, just what we've been doing. It kind of brings you up to speed. It was what I was showing the alders, so they'd see an idea of what I was hoping this group could be. So, all right, thank you for that, Denise. Other comments or questions about knowing that we're going to talk about how we're structuring, and we got a couple requirements, but comments, questions about this group, about anything I've said or that was festering in your mind that now is a good time to ask.
I do. So put together a strategic plan. What's the end game? Do you see anything tentatively that we might be able to, accomplish with the strategic plan? Something perhaps tangible?
I didn't have the best audio. I know you were asking about strategic plan. Can you just more?
Yep. All right. So I was curious what the end game would be with the strategic plan. What kind of outcomes are you tentatively looking at? What did you have in mind as far as tangible things? I heard other people talk about X, Y, and Z number of like positions or other types of involvement. Okay.
All right.
There we go.
So this is the way my brain works, and this is a huge project, right? It really is. And it's going to have moving parts, but yet I also want to simplify it. So I take systems and I get to the heart of the matter. That's what I do for a living. So here is about our members and stuff I hope to accomplish soon if we haven't already. And here is a place for the school district if they join us, which they're welcome to, and I think they may. And we have a lot of information to gather. Look at, I don't even have the word "the" in front of undivided. I didn't even have your name right. And here I am wondering, is there a GSA and what else is there? I think that I think we see this as a community event. I bet they're going to join us at some time, the school, and it'll be in their way. So when I answer this question that comes from Donald, I'm answering it for the city only. And that this is what I believe the city would be happy with. No one from the city has told us what the strategic plan has to look like. So that's why I started gathering information for this group to be able to say, what do we want this to look like for the city? There's not a ton of plans out there like that I could see, but I also didn't spend hours and hours researching, and I didn't use library staff here at the university. I work here at the university, UW Health. There's a bunch of us who work for UW Health. You're surrounded. I did not use our library resources yet. I may. So regarding the strategic plan, I think you can see this purple bluish, that this is how I'm seeing it now, but this is just my brain without all of us. It needs all of us. And so this is going to change and look different. But I feel that from the strategic plans I've looked at, they looked at all of their city organizations, all of their city agencies, however the city works. And so these are our departments that are within the city of Stoughton. So I want us to review them. Both of, a very open, hospitable look, and then for us to talk about what our city is saying they're doing and what further questions or what growth do we see. That's the basics about how dealing with the city departments that I've seen it done in other places based upon my research. I love research. So that's what I've been seeing, but it's not all inclusive. It's just what I've seen. In fact, Sharon, who I serve with on the library board, already has an idea about how we might be able to get this going and be very easy, because the city's pretty stressed after COVID, but yet I think that they're open, and I think there's lots of potential for growth. So we want to make this as available and clear, invite them to our meetings, but if for some reason they can't, we would figure that out. So we're going to work and look at it in the city departments. That's one thing. So that I know that that's what, when they said yes to the strategic plan, they know we're going to be addressing these areas. But there's also this wider Stoughton as a community, the city as a whole. And I don't think the Chamber of Commerce is the only citywide operating agency that has a structure and might benefit and be open to this, and they are. In fact, they asked for resources a while ago. So we've got like a list of work to do, by the way, just know that. But we only have to come up with a strategic plan and do events. No pressure, none. So anyway, citywide, to look at us as a community as a whole, and there might be these citywide things that we come up with that might have to do with the chamber or just what makes good community. That is what I see as a potential strategic plan. And it's just based on my simple research. And boy, this is totally open to change based upon now that look at here we are all together. Thank God. I've just been listening and gathering info. That's all I've been doing. So this is, Donald, does this answer your question about process? Outcomes and what it could look like? There's samples in that document that I'll re-email out, but I've only been involved in strategic plans. I'm along for the ride. We're going to have some people, and we might choose to, we have no money right now, but we could probably get some. Are we going to lead the strategic plan? Are we going to hire facilitators? Those questions are coming. And I think you're about to ask or say something like that.
No, this helps. because I always like to keep something in mind as we go through a process. So we don't, it's fine to get, you know, we can go in the weeds, go down rabbit holes, and at the same time, still have to keep the overarching theme in place, which otherwise we don't move forward. So that's
Right.
that's just what I wanted to know.
Thank you. Great question. We'll talk more about that, about how we're going to structure. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, I just want to comment. It's a freeing feeling to feel like a group coming together to do something that resembles strategic planning, but we're not actually like internal to that scope or that map that you just showed us. So that's very, I think it's unique, and it may be in part why you're not finding immediate illustrations. I'm not sure how often this happens, so I'm just appreciating that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I also think we're the first that is going at it from saying we're going to do this grassroots as clearly as I am. They've hired consultants, they've had particular groups, and a lot of it looks top down, and I thought that was a mistake. Go man, go Will. And then Tess, or Mary, sorry, I'm confused.
So I saw it listed in the Human Library, and I know that's always an intriguing title when it was introduced to me what that was. So this is an enactment of one thing going forward. So I'll name it here. I was approached. I'm sorry.
Bill,
Yes?
we're going to talk about events and stuff.
Okay.
May I ask you to hold that thought just out
Sure.
of respect that I saw
Yes.
a couple other hands, and we're about to talk about that. We'll get that in tonight. I guarantee it.
Okay, very good.
I
Of
said
course.
Will, and then Mary, who is going by Tess on her screen, and then Amanda and Sharon.
That's my computer. I did tell him it was your computer.
She didn't
had an
introduce herself, so hey.
there she is. I just had an idea for an event with Set Mai, but if we're going to talk about that coming, then I will wait on that.
Events are coming, trust me. We'll start events like by 7:45.
Got it.
We might not talk about our structure tonight. Maybe we just need to talk about these two divisions, and I'm cool with that because we're still getting out here at 8. All right, Amanda, Sharon, and then Linda.
I'm president at Pumpkin Patch Preschool in town, and I've written some grants for them. So if you're looking for funding for a specific project, I've had some success with that. So I'm happy to start one or collaborate with others and try to get some grants going to get some funding for some of these bigger events.
Awesome. Thank you for stating that skill and talent. We're going to need that. Sharon.
I had a couple of practical questions. Like, for example, we are appointed by the mayor. So does that mean that when we meet in the future, are there like open meetings laws that we have to be careful of? Do we need to publicize and invite the public, that kind of thing?
Good question. We technically are independent of the Common Council. We're a task force that's been created by them. We just wrote this resolution in a way that I felt would get us buy-in from the city, have enough cred for people to say this is really important. And the city attorney has commented. It's not absolutely clear. They just kind of say we are technically, but we are time limited, we're a task force, and we are independent. I do want us to announce our meetings, and I'm happy to notice them. This first one, I just needed to get us together soon, and we'll set another date. And by the way, 12 of you said you could do a week from Wednesday, but I also only said one a month. I promise I'll stay to that if we want to stay there. But maybe we can get a lot done in between meeting and like council people, we can't be emailing each other because of open meetings laws. We are outside of open meeting laws is what the city attorney has told me. And that's why I'm only having 2 elected members. Keep our numbers clear. So was aware of that and hope it doesn't change and rule its head, cause us issues.
Also related to the city, do we have a budget yet?
I think we're gonna get one soon. I think there's a possibility we might find some money in ARPA funds and that we can get it into asking for next year's traditional budget, which I think is gonna be painful. There's fundraisers on this group too. You do need money to get stuff done, but there is also some wisdom by staying on a shoestring. And I think we're gonna walk both. And if we really want something with these kind of people, the money will come. I believe that. But at this point, budget is not something we have to talk about now, but we must by this fall.
And
I do
finally,
that
Amanda, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was gonna say on that topic, I think there's also other organizations in Stoughton that we could partner with for
Absolutely.
events and that might also already have a budget that have already kind of started that we could just work with for the beginning as well.
We will deal with money very smartly, and it's not probably in these first 2 meetings for sure, but you're right, there's stuff out there. I'm gonna stay on Sharon just because I'm aware of time, because our time is now starting to run short, I'm feeling. You had one more quick comment, and then I'm going to Linda.
it was just something for us to think about. We've already shared some very personal information. And so maybe establishing a few guidelines, things like promising to protect what is shared, respect confidentiality, and maybe depending upon the nature of how discussions evolve, I would think if we've opted to join this group that we would, tend to be as respectful as possible, but it might be worth considering a few guiding principles at a later point.
I wondered, should we bring about ground rules for this meeting? And I'm hearing that it might be just wise. What I would like to say is I'll email out. I don't have a ton of notes yet because I kind of had this prepared. It's a lot of it was joining and already written, but I will send out an update this weekend. And then over the next period of time, whatever seems to make sense in the email after we pick our next meeting, send me your suggestions for ground rules, and I promise I'll collate those. I'm glad to hear somebody else was thinking about ground rules. I think it's really important we only speak from our experience is a good one that I've seen all over the board. I don't want more than 7. It gets to be too much then. We've gotten too particular. Good basic ones. We should do that, and let's do that. I'll put that on our list. I think Linda was next. You're muted, Linda.
Jean, when you're looking at your organizations on your list and you're looking at the chambers, please include Stoughton Health.
Yes. Do you want that to be citywide?
I think I'm not sure, I guess. I just want to make sure that we're on the radar, because as an organization, this issue is very important to us. We've started our internal work on it and want to be able to contribute and learn from the city to do more work within. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I just want to make sure that
Yep.
as an organization that you're aware of our support to this and that.
It's getting late, and I will include Stoughton Health. I think I'll include it here, and that you plan to share the work that Stoughton Health is doing. There are like 3 or 4 other healthcare companies in town.
Yeah.
So let's think about that. I hear what you're saying, though. I do hear what you're saying. Maybe we should talk about health companies, not just Stoughton Health. It's an interesting argument.
That's absolutely fine. However you decide to do it, I guess I just want to make sure that the group knows that, as an organization, Stoughton Health really supports this work, because I see the chamber and
and Stoughton Health has a special place in our community. I mean, it really does, as does the hospital. Absolutely. I think we should, and please just know you'll always get transparency with me, wondering how to go about that. But now that I think about that, maybe we should figure out where that sits. And maybe it's an offshoot of Stoughton community, who knows? But yes, I will be happy to put that there. Yeah, there's that healthcare and that competition shit, man. Watch out. I'm sidestepping it. All right, thank you, Linda. Good comment there. I gotta go to events, but there was another person who was gonna speak, and you guys are small. Who was next? Okay. Maybe we got through everybody. I thought there was a person after Linda. I usually facilitate better. I'm just slightly tired and I'm still in my work environment. So I am gonna screen share, and I didn't hardly show you this part of it yet. So we've been empowered with the strategic plan, and then we have these events that we got to do. So I've just been listening what's going on, or people have approached me and said, Jean, please do this. I had a conversation with Jolie Beth Fitzgibbons, and many of us believe that education and doing the internal work is really what we're all doing. That is what we're doing throughout for these 2 years, educating people, but we're going to do it hopefully in really sexy and fun ways. And then the strategic plan way too, which goes beyond words. Can't use sexy, can't use fun, but strategic plan is going to be like at the heart of all of this stuff that we've done. So, and we'll be doing beyond, but this is the stuff that I've heard about. Education. She also suggested an equity challenge. Will, you were next. Will, please talk about the human library.
I promise I will be very brief about this. I'm going forward, have contacted Jim Ramsey, the director of the Stoughton Public Library, with the person who initiated this idea and shared it with me, Sarah Rabe. If I'm saying her last name correctly, I always forget how to say Sarah's last name, which is terrible of me. But she brought the idea of the human library to me, knowing that that I have been a facilitator of conversations, how people are able to, as you mentioned about having guidelines for our conversations, to build that trust and respect you need to believe what you're hearing from each of us. The human library is literally people saying, I am willing to, for example, I'll use myself, I'm willing to talk about my educational experience of being a person with dyslexia and how that has impacted my life, but also because of my white privilege, did not play out in ways people assumed I had certain abilities that I could perform, that I could hide, because of my privilege of people thinking that I had a skill set that was beyond what my dyslexia actually impacted. So I would say I will be your book for the next half hour, and that's the human aspect of the library. If someone wants to sit down and hear that story, another topic may be someone talking about having an addiction and getting through that addiction. What does that mean? And so you can, quote unquote, check out a person at the library to hear their lived experience of something that's never been a part of your lived experience, your identity. And it's for building, understanding, and strengthening of community, of becoming aware that maybe you have stereotypes and you've been oppressive, and not to perpetuate that, quite frankly. So that's something we're going to go forward and do. And I think I'm very grateful that I see it already in the chart that we have in front of us here. Things like this, I think, will be phenomenal as we learn more about all the other things, and then do the analysis surveying that I also see we're going to be doing. So that's one thing, and I'll stop there.
And Will, as you were talking about the human library, it was Dee. Dee was the next person to speak, and we missed you. I realize we're talking in the middle of events, but your hand's up, Dee. You got the floor.
Okay, there was just a couple things I wanted to say when you were talking about Human library. First, I was going to talk about Juneteenth, but we can talk about human library for a minute as it relates to something we're doing at the high school, and I think could be part of the human library as well. As a group, the Undivided have shared multiple stories about situations that they've been through, discrimination, prejudice, things like that. And on our next staff in service, we had some of the kids volunteered to be on panels, and we're going to have panel discussions with the staff, the kids are, where they're going to share their stories, and then the staff is going to be allowed to ask them questions. So I'm just thinking that I know there would be kids who would be willing to do the human library. So I just wanted to share that. Kids are incredible. If they're just incredible. They want to be involved in everything. And then as far as Juneteenth is concerned, the Undivided is partnering with Yoli-Beth and Laura. I don't know if you know Laura. And
Laura's a part of us, just couldn't be here tonight.
Oh, even more perfect.
And she asked me to announce it, so do the announcement.
So we are partnering with Yoli-Beth and Mosaicos and Laura to promote Juneteenth, and we are actually meeting. Yoli-Beth and Laura and I are meeting next week. I have to look at my calendar. I believe it's Tuesday, to talk about different events and things that we want to do. I already met with Club, the Undivided, and talked about the different things that they want to do for Juneteenth, and holy cow, do they have a grand plan. So there's lots of different things they want to do. The kids, like I said, there's over 70 kids in Club willing to volunteer and help out with things and promote things, and they want it to be a great big celebration. So that's something that's already in the works as well.
Way cool. Also not on here is the bike rodeo. There is a bike equity organization and a bunch of others. Again, Yoli-Beth's organizations. I think she is the lead. There's a bike rodeo on June 3rd, Friday, from 5 to 7 p.m. and it's going to be at Kagansa School, and it's meant to get access bikes to kids who normally don't have access, and learn how to repair and stuff like that. You'll get more on it. They've asked us to list it. I think we're going to be somewhat of a clearinghouse and communicators too, is what I'm seeing. And there it is. Amanda's showing you the flyer that will go out that was sent to me late this afternoon. So we're listing that too. We got a bunch of things coming up really quick. Some of these ideas are longer term, some of them are education, some of them are coming up. We're gonna be part of this is the first, so at one of the listening sessions, the second listening session that was supposed to be about action, but didn't have enough people of color and diverse populations we talked about setting to my, because there had been an interesting thing that came up, that it's just not so diverse. And Shiva, who I work with here at UW, at the hospital here, she commented and said, most people I know don't see Setting to as pretty welcoming. And it just was a very interesting discussion for a while. And what's happened is that these groups, as we're creating this energy, this seminal energy, and seeds are being planted, they're getting together, and there's going to be a table at Setting to My. I think it's fully staffed already. But technically the DEI task force is part of it, even though we hadn't been part of it, but we're like this clearinghouse. So Eyes of Hope, Girl to Girl, Mosaicos, and the resettlement project that I'm not going to take time to explain right now, which is way cool, but we're helping have refugees come to Stoughton. That's going on. So I'm hoping I can give you guys access to this very cool mind map, because you can link to information, you can put stuff, and I don't know, I understand. I would not be able to understand this if it was an outline form. So this is one way we're going to grow, but that's our first event. Stop by and see us. And speaking of events, we need to pick another meeting. Would you guys like to meet a month from now or so, and I'll get it out on Doodle? Or do you guys want to shoot for next Wednesday? Because 12 of us could meet.
I could also meet next Wednesday if it's after 5 o'clock, because I have staff meeting till 5 o'clock.
6:30 would be the sweet spot, I think. We're gonna just go forward and continue this because we didn't even talk about how we're gonna structure. But I'm hoping that we're gonna have, I'm gonna plant a seed. We're gonna have a group of people that say, I want to be one of the core members of a strategic plan and help get this baby written. And I think that needs to be a group of 4 to 7 people at max, 4 to 5. Though we'll all talk about it at times, these 4 to 5 is going to lead that process, knowing you have unconditional support from the city and whoever, and we'll get whatever you need. I am Radar O'Reilly. Not only do I walk and listen to people, I am Radar O'Reilly. I get people what they need frequently. And so I want people to think about being a core group of a strategic plan. And basically, I'm wondering, do you see yourself more strategic plan? And then we're all events, right? We're all going to do these events, but we do need people whose skill set is there, you marketers and organizers. So think about that for how we're going to structure. But I say we just keep bringing what we got and only do what you can. And I think we're going to be fine. And I'll work on seeing if the skid, and Dee, I want to get some time with you. I really don't know. I used to know schools. I know this hospital. I don't, and the city a little bit, just a little bit. So let me take this thing off. It looks like we're going to meet next Wednesday. I'm happy to make it an hour just because we're adding it extra. We can make it an hour and a half, but any thoughts?
Can I just throw out an idea for Sentinel?
Sure, but can I just get our meeting date first? We're meeting
Yeah,
next
I'm good to go.
Wednesday for an hour or 90 or up to 90 minutes.
Well, could we
Hour.
potentially say, I think hour, but I think if we could potentially say that we could slot out 90 minutes if we need it.
Okay.
Shoot for an hour.
Could I suggest that we do the opposite, say we're meeting for 90 and let's be done in 60?
We
Okay.
have a meeting, we can only do 60, so we would do 60. We have a meeting at 8 o'clock, so.
Okay.
we can meet, So.
Did I hear that you're okay with we're saying 90, but let's be done in 60? But I'll say 90. Because then we'll look good if we get done before. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I will always get you guys out on time, I promise. All right, set into my Ms. Mary.
Okay, real quick, then I'll be quiet. Could we get a table or a tent for the Black-owned businesses in town to be down at Sentinel?
Interesting.
And then maybe get the high school students that want to help. They could be down there helping at that tent or at other tents, so we get people out there.
Interesting. I don't even think we have a collective list of who the Black-owned businesses are yet.
There's the coffee.
I know we know who they are, but I don't think we have a list.
There's just 3 that I know of. The Coffee for All, the bitty books, and then the with the little shoes.
Sun and Lace.
Yeah,
I think there's more.
let's do it.
I think there's more Black-owned business.
That's wonderful.
And do we want to say just Black-owned business? What about?
Well, there's Albanian too. There's Albanian owned businesses.
So we need to talk about this on Wednesday of next week. All right, it's going on the agenda. I'll hold on to this agenda and put these meeting notes out. I want to get us through the first couple of meetings, but yeah, once we have a structure and we know where we're headed, we're all facilitating unless for some reason you feel you can't, and that's just fine. You only do what you can, right? But we'll all be facilitating. All right, we are meeting next Wednesday at 6:30. Are we meeting in person or are we meeting virtual?
I can't commit to in person.
I could, but I like virtual because I can see everybody's face all the time.
Virtual
Let's stay
works
virtual for now, if that's okay. So there's some hands up, go. Amanda?
All right, I'm just thinking about setting a mind with all the parades in town. I was thinking like Undivided could have a spot in one of the parades would be nice, you know, a very visual being a part of something that normally that we might be excluded from, but also that, you know, showing we're here for good. Here we are.
I would absolutely love that. I just need to know if we're going to involve the kids. I need to know enough in advance that I can let them know and organize them. They're pretty much down to do anything. We will have our shirts for club. They say the Undivided on the front and our logo on the back. We'll have them by the 19th of April, so we would have them in time for Setting Mai. I just need to know enough in advance that I can organize them. So
Sell those shirts.
we could sell those shirts. You're right. And we did talk about selling them at Juneteenth, but we literally just ordered them. So they'll be here by the 19th.
Dee, is that what you were gonna say? Because I need to go to Denise, but you guys, I have this crazy desire to do what I say. So we're meeting virtually next Wednesday at 6:30, for sure for 60 minutes. And I'm gonna say an hour and a half though, but we're gonna work to try to be done in an hour. All right, so if 8 o'clock comes and you gotta go, but I'm technically off the top facilitating, but Dee, did you say what you want to say? And then Denise is next, and now I'm done facilitating.
Yeah, the only thing like I said, the kids they want to be involved in basically anything. They'll do anything. And I just need to know in advance so that I can organize them. That is all so anything that you want the group to be involved in, we're all about it. Community and everything. I have to organize them. That's all.
Denise or Donald?
So I just wanted to just let you know I can help with that strategic plan. So I can be one of those folks.
Going to ask for a core group, 4 to 5 for sure, maybe up to 7. You guys will decide.
All right.
Responsibility for the plan will be there, and we'll all guide it. We'll figure it out. You guys, it's 8 o'clock. It's time for us to go. I feel like I've known you guys forever. Thank you so much. So much in gratitude. Bye.